A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, I was Luke Skywalker. At least in my imagination, when my brother and I played with our Star Wars toys. I was 9 years old when the first movie came out, and I could have never guessed that 40 years later, those Star Wars stories would still play such a major role in my life.
This is a dream come true.
As a young priest, I walked around at Skywalker Ranch, and I met with many of the actors at conventions and Star Wars celebrations. Even today, I go to every premiere of a new movie.
It was awesome!
And many of my friends live and breathe Star Wars just like me.
The Dutch Garrison, oh yes! Oh yes! We have to go. We have to go. We're up in. Oh my gosh! Goodie bag! Whoa, look at the swag!
What is it that sets Star Wars apart from so many other stories and movies? How can a galaxy born from the imagination of George Lucas captivate millions of people from several generations all over the world?
It's awesome.
It's awesome. All right.
Check it out, it's moving! It's moving by itself.
What is the secret of its enduring success? That is what I want to find out. And in order to find answers, I will take you with me to the colorful world of Star Wars fans, collectors, and cosplayers.
Armin, you're a huge Star Wars fan, right?
Yeah, I am.
Who is your favorite character?
Han Solo.
I've been apprehended by these stormtroopers.
Star Wars, everything's okay.
Star Wars is over 40 years old now. And I think Star Wars will outlive us all.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Yeah, that is Jelle.
Yeah.
And that one is me.
It's so many things in one movie, and the even bigger part is that everyone who likes Star Wars is like one big family, and I really like that.
What do you think is the secret of Star Wars? Why is that so
It's a
deep?
fantasy. It is bad and it's good. We have a princess who kind of sort of, and Luke is helping her. It's like a kind of prince. I know what it is. It is the recognizable of it, the suits, the danger and the fun and the love story. What's in it?
It's childhood fantasies come true.
A few years ago, I went to visit Elfia, an annual cosplay event that takes place at a real castle not far from where I live. Hundreds of people dress up in the most amazing costumes, most of which are homemade. It was here that I met a couple of members of the Dutch Garrison, a division of the 501st Legion, a worldwide Star Wars costuming organization. They focus on the costumes of the bad guys like Stormtroopers, Darth Vader, and other villains from the Star Wars universe.
It's lunchtime, right? What are you guys eating?
We got some Ewok.
Ewok!
Burnt Ewok right here. It's delicious. The first thing I ever saw on big screen was Star Wars. Immediately fell in love with it. They came in, I watched the first movie, the New Hope, and then the music comes in, and they come crashing through the door, and in come the stormtroopers, and I was like, wow.
I've seen the first three, the old trilogy.
Yes.
And the first thing you see are the stormtroopers with Darth Vader. And I was just, at the age of 5, I was amazed. So I had something like, I want that.
Well, this is my hobby room. This is where the magic happens, because here I make my costumes.
Rian and Jelle are massive Star Wars fans. Their friendship started at a meeting of the Dutch Garrison.
I just broke up with my ex and I was really sad about it. And I actually met someone from the Dutch Garrison on Elf Fantasy Fair. And he was like, you know what? I'm gonna make sure you can come with the Dutch Garrison and you can troop in your own costume and it will be fun and you will be fine and everyone will take care of you and it's fun. So I was like, oh, okay, I don't know anyone there, but it's terrible.
She was kind of a nice girl, so I was looking at her like all guys do. She looked back and I panicked, so I made the move on my lens. So she didn't notice I looked at her.
So that's how we met.
Rick is also a hardcore fan. Since his daughter Amber was born, however, there is less time for his hobby.
I think it has a classical curve, where a nobody farm boy ends up being some kind of a superhero with a deep history of teachings and understandings. I think that is what appeals to most people. You know that you can be a nobody, but still end up being a somebody.
Puck works in insurance, loves to cook, and to dress up as a Star Wars character.
I was 8 years old and the Star Wars movies were on television. My father said that I needed to watch those because they're classics, but I loved it. And then a few years later, I was in the first grade of high school and The Phantom Menace hit cinemas. And that was quite an experience for me because it was the very first Star Wars movie I saw in cinema. And the whole cinema was filled with Star Wars fans, all grown-up men with their kids, wearing Star Wars t-shirts and plastic lightsabers. And it was quite an experience. I loved it.
The world of Star Wars has a light side and a dark side. And every story revolves around the precarious balance that is constantly threatened when the dark side grows too strong.
Feel the power of the dark side.
It is a theme as old as mankind itself, present in mythology, in Bible stories, and in virtually every religion. Where does this dark side come from? How does it manifest itself in our lives? And more importantly, how can our choices determine the outcome of this battle between light and darkness? I asked two people who may be able to tell me more about it.
So this is what a House of a Star Wars fan looks like.
Yeah, well, big Star Wars fan anyway.
As cosplayers, Rian and Jelle regularly transform into dark side characters from Star Wars. But is the dark side also something they experience in their own personal lives?
For me it is, because I usually don't get accepted very easily because of my looks and how I pronounce myself. And a lot of people actually are like, ooh, that's a creep, or she looks scary, or whatever.
The hostility and rejection that Rian sometimes faces from people that won't look beyond appearances is a recurring theme in Star Wars as well. Hostility often begins with fear, but fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering, Yoda explains in one of the movies. And it's only when Luke Skywalker dares to look beyond the mask of Darth Vader to find the good that's there, that's when the dark side starts to crumble and the light returns. Rian experienced something similar when she received a warm welcome by her fellow Star Wars fans.
This one is really special to me because it's my very first troop I did with the Dutch Garrison. It's like meeting my family for the first time, so it's really special. It actually made me cry that I could walk with them that day. It really made me cry. It's such a big family and they accept everyone as they are. These people were like, yeah, she's crazy. Come join our club. And that was awesome, so yeah, it meant the world to me.
This is Cabau, the small rural village where my career as a priest began. I was young and full of ambition, and I had a strong sense of calling. In many ways, my vocation and my life choices reminded me of the story of Luke Skywalker. He was called to leave his home planet, to learn the ways of the Force, and to become a Jedi. I too had felt a calling to leave my home behind, to learn the ways of a higher force, to become a priest.
This is where I lived for the first 5 years of my priesthood. I was appointed here in this small, typical Dutch village. A huge change from the cities where I'd lived until that moment.
And Luke became a Jedi when the Jedi Order was almost extinct. There were no other Jedi whose example he could follow. And I too had chosen the priesthood in a time when almost no one followed that path anymore, at least not in my country. The Jedi reminded me of priests and monks. They too don't marry. They find strength in meditation. They are ready to sacrifice their lives to save others. They live a selfless life and they want to save the universe from the grip of the dark side. As a young priest, those were my ideals too.
The first years in the parish were very overwhelming. I had studied for 10 years, first philosophy, then theology, and all of a sudden I'm here in this parish and everybody's looking at me. It's like, we want you to be our priest, but your predecessor did this, and then we would like you to do this, and this, and this. And the list of requests became longer and longer, and I was full of ideals. I felt that I had to be this good shepherd who never says no, who is always there, who wants to please everyone, who's never tired. But I was, and I was getting more and more frustrated by the fact that I couldn't be the priest that I felt I had to be. And my health started to degrade. I didn't sleep anymore, and one day I realized I can't do this anymore. And I went to see the doctor, and he told me, you have to stop. You're overworked and you need to take rest, and otherwise worse is going to happen. And it resulted in me basically having to stop for half a year, and that was the most difficult time in my life.
In those dark times, when I felt discouraged and alone, Star Wars unexpectedly came back into my life. George Lucas announced that he would be making a new trilogy of Star Wars movies. From my room in the parish house, I started a website about these upcoming movies. It attracted a lot of attention and brought me in touch with thousands of fellow Star Wars fans from all over the world. It was as if my parish suddenly had become a whole lot bigger. I was invited to visit Skywalker Ranch, something most fans only dream about. I felt so thankful for this new Star Wars family that accepted and embraced me. For them, I didn't need to be the perfect priest. I could just be myself. In Star Wars terms, it was that friendship, that force, that brought me back to the light side. Both Rihanna and Jelle have experienced how much that friendship with other Star Wars fans means to them. Not only in happy times, but also when you go through darker moments in life.
There's one thing that brings us together and keeps us together, that's Star Wars. But if there's something not only with a costume project, but with you personally, everybody is there to listen, and if they could help, they will help. So it's more kind. They are friends, but it's more kind of a second family, and yeah, that's really nice, especially in difficult times.
Jelle knows firsthand that life can also have a dark and difficult side.
I'm 2 years in a depression, and I got some help for it.
When his mother suffered from serious health issues, Jelle was thankful to be able to fall back on his second family for support.
My mother, she had a stroke, and she's my only parent, so it's good to have some people around that want to listen. Sometimes they can't help you, but only the feeling that they listen and they want to try to help you gives you the idea of that it's okay to feel crap.
The process of transforming himself into a Star Wars bad guy through costumes and makeup helps Jelle regain his strength.
It's kind of you putting on a kind of a shield. Nothing can harm you. When I get in costume, I look at the character's background, I look at what they do, who they are, and if it connects with me, I'm gonna do it.
Jelle's most challenging outfit must be that of Darth Maul.
He's at his prime of his time, a strong person, but he's also fragile. He's in a form of depression also, but gets help from his mother and his brother, and he gets back on his feet.
He has to shave off all of his hair and sit still for hours on end while Rian paints his face. But it's all worth it to Jelle. In the movie The Last Jedi, we learn that when darkness rises, light grows to meet it. In the midst of his depression, Jelle experienced something extraordinary that lightened up his life.
This was a very special moment in my life. This is me as Darth Maul, and this is the actual actor that played Darth Maul, Ray Park. He's sitting at his table, and I was like, I'm a fan of your work, but he jumped up like he was a fan of me. I don't hope that I end like Darth Maul, but that I get back on my feet and feel strong again and be myself again.
When a story inspires you, it is often because of role models. Role models are characters in a story that you can identify with, whose choices and actions give you directions for situations in your own life. You find them in biblical stories, in mythology, in fairy tales, and today in movies, TV shows, books, and even in video games.
I like that she's a fighter. I'm not sure if I'm a fighter, but that's something that I like in her character a lot. She doesn't want to give up, and she's a bit headstrong, a bit stubborn, that I recognize.
George Lucas created an imaginary galaxy full of role models. An idealistic farm boy who becomes a Jedi, a princess who is not a damsel in distress but takes charge herself, a smuggler and scoundrel who turns out to have a heart of gold, and even a dark lord who returns to the light side right before his death. We need role models to give us direction. We honor their memory in paintings, in statues of saints in our churches and cathedrals, and in the case of Star Wars, by dressing up like our favorite heroes. That's exactly what I did at the age of 10 after seeing the first Star Wars movie in theaters. I wanted to dress up like the character that instantly had become my role model, Luke Skywalker.
When I was a kid here in school, the first Star Wars movie, A New Hope, premiered. And from that moment on, Star Wars just dominated my imagination. And one day we had a party here in school where we could dress up. And I dressed up like Luke Skywalker. And I had this plastic sword that I had wrapped in aluminum foil, which was my lightsaber, of course. And I remember that the first thing the teacher said to me was, "Oh, you're one of those guys from Star Trek." And I was like, what? I was so angry. How can you possibly confuse Star Trek with Star Wars?
But while I recognize my own idealism in the adventures of Luke Skywalker, other people recognize themselves more in Leia, in Obi-Wan, Rey, Finn, Poe Dameron, Rose Tico, or Han Solo.
Armin, you're a huge Star Wars fan, right?
Yeah, I am.
Who's your favorite character?
Han Solo.
Han Solo?
Han Solo.
And do you have any Star Wars costumes?
I have a Star Wars costume. Actually, today I got an RS Prop Masters original New Hope Stormtrooper suit.
No way!
So yeah, I'm thinking about joining the 501 Garrison.
Awesome! And of course my friends from the Dutch Garrison are all here.
On the night of the world premiere of The Force Awakens, I'm accompanied by a number of enthusiastic cosplayers of the Dutch Garrison.
Fantastic! Great to see you guys! You look amazing!
One of them is Puck, who has created her own costume for the character of Rey, the female lead of the movie.
As a child, I always loved Leia, but now there's Rey, and I absolutely adore her. So there are a lot of characters I don't know if identify is the good word, but I at least can understand them, and I am very passionate about what happens with them. Luke won't help her, so she's like, well, then I'm doing this without you. I mean, I'm doing it anyway, whether you want it or not, and I like that.
It was awesome! I need to see this 100 times more. It was amazing. Oh yes! Oh yes!
Right after the premiere, we jump into a cab to give our initial impressions of the movie in a live talk show on TV.
All right, I'm here with the Dutch Garrison. These guys live and breathe Star Wars. So I need to know, what did you think of it?
Awesome! Awesome!
Did you expect it to be this good?
No. I was hoping for it, so yes.
Oh my gosh, I cannot believe what they did in this movie.
I was literally crying. I mean,
yeah, we heard because we said we informed of you, and my girlfriend she tried to comfort you.
Yes,
we heard you crying.
Yes.
Maar wat is het?
We're here.
Ja, succes.
When we arrive on location in Amsterdam, my fellow fans quickly change into their costumes. I get some makeup, and then we are hurried onto the stage for our TV appearance.
You did great!
Puck studied PR and communication, as well as English language and culture. She works in insurance, but in her spare time she loves to create Star Wars costumes of her favorite role models.
I do like the storyline because it's in a way very simplistic. It's a very classic story about good and evil, and you have actual heroes and real bad guys, and sure there's something in between, but the lines are very clear, so it's basically a fairy tale. That's one of the fun things about the hobby. You learn a lot of new skills. When I started this hobby about 10 years ago, I had no clue how a sewing machine works, and now I think I do. And the same with armor building. I've never worked with plastic or a Dremel or anything like that, and now I think I can do quite a few things, and that's fun. You always force yourself to learn something new, and you keep evolving. And when I see my first costumes, I think, oh, did I ever wear that? Oh, it's ugly, and but I made it, and now so many years later, I've improved a lot. That's my laundry.
One of her costumes is that of the bounty hunter disguise that Princess Leia wears when she is trying to free Han Solo from the grip of Jabba the Hutt.
These are my two helmets of my costume. And this was the very first helmet I ever made, back in 2008, I think. And this is actually signed by Carrie Fisher herself. So I'm happy that I have a signed helmet. It's one of a kind. So yeah, I'm very, very proud of it.
What did you admire in her character?
I think the same as in Rey, her stubbornness, how she does what she thinks is right. She doesn't want to be bossed around. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's strong. Yeah, very strong. And she doesn't need a guy to save her. For a while I've been dependent on someone, and that didn't end well. So I like it when people know they don't need anyone in the end.
The strong, independent women in Star Wars strike a personal chord with Puck. She lost her father at a young age, and she recently moved to a new apartment where she lives alone.
But in the end, you need friends to have around. My moment of crisis was when I had to move in a new apartment, and I had no idea how I was going to do that because I don't know how to drive a van. I can drive a car, but not a van. I cannot carry cabinets, my bed. So I asked around, and there were quite a few people in the garrison who immediately said, "I'm going to help you," and that's really nice. And I try to help people the other way around as well, invite people over for dinner when they're having a bad time, because that's what I do best. I'm very good at making comfort food. So that's what I like to do. That's how I try to help. Or listen to people when they need it.
For many Star Wars fans, the characters from the stories are more than just role models. Because these movies have been part of their lives for so long, Luke, Leia, Han, Chewie, Rey, and Yoda, and the actors that portray them feel much more like friends. They may live in an imaginary galaxy far, far away, but their stories are close to our hearts. And sometimes we just need to escape the trivialities of our own world for a while, to be reminded by our role models of what matters most in the story of our life.
I know it's not real, and I know the real world is out here, but I just like to utterly relax and don't stress or worry about work or paying bills or anything. And when you go to a convention like that and you dress up, you can just for one day forget everything of your normal life, of your standard boring desk job, and you can just utterly relax. And that's what I like. And it's for me a small holiday to just regain a bit of energy, to be strong for my work week again. So yeah, it's escapism to a certain extent.
The Star Wars saga is in essence a family saga. Literally, because Anakin Skywalker, Luke, Leia and Kylo Ren are all related, but also figuratively. It tells a story in which characters forge bonds that resemble those of a family and that sometimes substitute for a real family. It's something we can all relate to. We all need a family. I'm part of a family of 3 children. When the first Star Wars movie came out, my brother and I watched it together at the movie theater. My sister was still too young, but even she had a Princess Leia doll. We couldn't get enough of that amazing story, and our fascination for Star Wars would last until the present time. My brother and I watched every subsequent movie together, and even today, I still take my brother to every new Star Wars premiere.
I'm here with my brother Jeroen. Are you excited?
Oh, I'm so excited. Oh yeah, I'm so thrilled. This is gonna be great.
It's gonna be amazing. This is the first time that I parked my car with the Imperial March playing in the background. This is absolutely amazing. And look at these guys. They even have lightsabers.
In case you don't pay.
Check it out. Jeroen and I were little kids when we saw the first Star Wars movie, and now you have kids that are also into Star Wars, right?
They're so jealous. They're so jealous right now. Yeah, because they had to stay home.
So this is for all the celebrities. It's not a red carpet, but it is cool. We'll pretend as if we are celebrities too. You're taking pictures for the kids, of course.
Yes.
All right.
I'm here.
Let's see. We still need to see something of the poster here.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. All right.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Me too.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
The main characters of the more recent Star Wars movies are all tied to previous stories through family connections. Take Kylo Ren, for example, the bad guy of The Force Awakens and of The Last Jedi. Kylo's real name is Ben, and he is the son of Han Solo and Leia. Now, Leia is the sister of Luke Skywalker, and the both of them are the children of Anakin Skywalker, the main character of the prequels. So Anakin is Kylo's revered grandfather, and when we first meet Anakin, he is living with his mother Shmi on the desert planet of Tatooine. It's all big family. But there are other family structures as well. The rebels and the resistance form a kind of substitute family for those that have none, like Finn and Rose. And even droids sometimes seem to emulate family structures, with C-3PO and R2-D2 often behaving like bickering brothers, and with BB-8 evoking an orphan child that gets adopted by Rey. It strikes me that the story of Star Wars seems to emphasize the importance of family for the balance of the galaxy. When family bonds break down, the dark side gains strength and the world grows darker. When Anakin loses his mother, fear and anger turn him into a dark menace to the galaxy. When many years later, Kylo Ren feels betrayed by his uncle Luke, his other family bonds start to crumble as well.
It's like a story about father and son, and I love my dad, so it's everything works for me.
So Star Wars is also a bit about you.
Yeah, I'm not planning on killing my father.
The servants of the dark side see family bonds as a weakness that can be exploited, like Vader when he reveals his true identity to Luke, only to lure him to the dark side. Or when Snoke uses Kylo Ren's admiration for his grandfather to manipulate him and to provoke his anger. And Kylo himself tries to lure Rey to the dark side by telling her that her family has abandoned her. But in contrast, it's the ongoing quest to find and to heal family bonds that ultimately brings balance to the galaxy. Obi-Wan protects the newborn Luke and Leia by giving them adoptive families. And it is Luke's unwavering faith in the good that is still hidden somewhere behind his father's mask that ultimately leads to the destruction of the Emperor and the reconciliation with his father. And in The Force Awakens, it is Leia's quest to find her brother Luke that brings him back right in time to save the day at the end of The Last Jedi. The importance of family in Star Wars is also reflected in the personal experience of the fans.
I think it's all about friends and family.
It's one big family, everyone likes each other, and it's funny because everyone is different. I mean, we got lawyers and old people, and we got young people, we got people like me. It's all one big family, it's really cute.
The 501st, Dutch Garrison, is one warm bed of feeling, family, helping each other with everything, building your kit, building your suit, walking around, the reaction of the people, the children, everyone knows it.
I have experienced that same feeling of being part of a bigger family every time I meet my friends of the Dutch Garrison. Even though I haven't got a Star Wars costume myself yet, I always feel welcome and appreciated as a fellow fan.
I know a lot of these Star Wars people from Facebook, and the trick is always to recognize them when they're wearing their masks, because I can't tell who's behind the mask.
Maybe it helps that, as a Catholic priest, I can make Darth Vader's famous line my own when I say, "I am your father." Seeing the new movies in the company of this enthusiastic Star Wars family is an extraordinary experience. I'm visiting Rick, who has been a very active member of the Dutch Garrison for years. Lately, however, he has had to dial back his Star Wars activities a bit because he became the father of his daughter Amber.
Right now we are seeing the third generation of Star Wars fans with the new movies. But I think we will see a fourth, fifth and sixth generation as well. Most people, when they first join the 501st Legion, they always say it feels like a family. It feels like they found a second home. And I think that's the correct way of describing it. Yeah.
Does the friendship go beyond Star Wars?
I think so, yeah. You see, in our Dutch Garrison even we have several people meeting each other and marrying each other actually.
Really?
Yeah. This is our storage room for our costumes. Those are Darth Vader shin guards. I have several Star Wars costumes. I have one Darth Vader costume. I have one Stormtrooper costume. Biker Scout costume. And I have a First Order Trooper in pieces in a box. Because I haven't found the time to assemble that one. Because of the little one over here. It's okay. And my wife also has a female Stormtrooper costume. And a friend of ours did a little sketch of our. So that's me. She might have recognized me with the beard. And my wife, she doesn't have a beard, of course, so she's on the left.
So the both of you are Star Wars fans?
Yeah. So I'm very lucky.
That's rare.
I know.
Did you meet because of Star Wars, or was that a coincidence?
No, that was a coincidence, yeah.
Yeah.
But it helped. It helped with the selection procedure, yeah. Yeah.
In the family tree of the Skywalkers, the Force is transmitted from one generation to another. Luke and Leia inherited it from their father, and Leia passed it on to her son. Maybe Rick and Nienke will also transmit their love of Star Wars to their daughter Amber.
Oh wow. Isn't she scared of Darth Vader?
No, I don't think so.
No?
No. Maybe a little bit. Since she came around, we don't have a lot of time to dress up in costumes anymore.
Yeah.
Because, as most of you know, children are quite demanding.
The Force is definitely strong in my family as well. The children of my brother and sister are also fans of Star Wars, And just like when we were little, they too play Star Wars games and love to watch the stories at the movies and on TV. I am a proud uncle of a new generation of Star Wars fans.
And who do you identify most with in the Star Wars story?
That's a good question. I don't know actually. I do like the dark side more than the good side, because they do tend to have the most straight up goals. The Rebel Alliance doesn't have a straight goal, but the Empire does. The Empire is let's rule the galaxy. It's simple, everyone can understand. But the Rebel Legion is well, we want peace, but we are not sure how to do it, and yeah, we have a common goal of defeating the Empire or maybe the First Order. But after that, there's no plan. So I think I can relate most with the Empire because they have a straight goal.
You like to have goals yourself?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It gives you something to stand up in the morning.
What makes you wake up in the morning?
Well, that's maybe a cliche, but my wife and my daughter, those are the two most important parts in my life. And maybe in the past I would have said Star Wars, but I think Star Wars has taken a second seat role now in my life.
The Force is strong in my family, Luke tells his sister Leia at the end of Return of the Jedi. But maybe the opposite is true as well. A strong family generates the force of friendship and love, of forgiveness and self-sacrifice. If the Force is truly an energy field created by all living things that surrounds us and penetrates us, that binds the galaxy together, then the Force is akin to faith, love, and hope, central themes in Star Wars for a reason. They are the pillars of that galaxy of friends.